Time for a map guide on my favorite map, which is Spider Islands. There are three entrances, or exits, I should say, to get out on the offensive team, which is there's this one on the far left. This is the main one, and there's this one over here. If Spidey is going to pull you off of a map, or if you are ever going to be taken out of a portal, you are probably going to get it from this angle here. So whenever you walk out from this door, always remember that there is a Spidey possibly waiting to pull you off, or a Strange waiting to portal you. These routes are a bit safer. This one is usually taken by long hit scan type characters like Black Widow, for instance, might want to line up for one of those shots where she can get a long sight line over here down main. Really handy, really safe for Black Widow. The other areas, which is great for flankers, is the door over here on the far right, which gets you to the fastest route to get to the backside of them. It's great if you are trying to immediately set up in a position where you want to try and contest this space. This angle here is really important for you to try and contest and try and take over, because of the fact that as this payload will drop down and start to push up to this point, the enemy team is going to hold this corner. This corner is the safest place for them to hold. Up until then, it's just down this long sight line and the enemy spawn door being right there. There's no point in holding up there. So they're all going to be holding back here. That way, that means that you want to try and get control over this space, because as soon as you do, you can see how the area they were using as cover before now becomes open for you to attack. So the offensive team wants to take this space, and the defensive team also wants to keep them from accessing this area just as much. Now, on offense, when you are going up and you're trying to find ways to access to get better angles on them, this bridge up here does break, so don't rely on it too much. But if you walk up and if you check out this wall over here, this one actually breaks down and allows you to hop down there. So you don't have to use just this area down below, but this is an excellent flank route if you can get access to here and they don't notice you here. You can get to the back line, and most of the time the supports are held up either here, or even just like right here, right as soon as you exit. But like I said, you can break out this wall up here, say if you're magic or something, you can plop down a demon and it breaks much quicker. This is great because the supports are almost always looking straight ahead, and makes it really easy to flank them by taking either one of those routes. You also have, of course, your health pack here. You have your obvious health pack there in this room here. You have another health pack, by the way, down here in this room. All of these are really handy. I've used all of them before. There's also, of course, obviously this health pack here, and there is another one over in this room here. This one is not known about too much. It's not used very often because it's such a long ways out of the way. You wouldn't really find yourself here unless you're trying to have some really daring escape. So on offense, as the payload starts to push up, we'll fast forward a little bit here so we can see that. You can see them holding this corner, like I said. They are trying to always hold and push this corner, and only when the team starts to take a few losses will they start to push up this far closer to their spawn door. But you'll notice that as soon as they get those kills and the team starts to regroup, they start to back up and give up that space again because it's too dangerous to stay out there. So we'll fast forward a little bit here. So here they make a mistake and they manage to take a couple of losses, which allows us to push and apply pressure and push them back even farther. Thing goes to try and slow the progression of the payload down as much as possible. He takes a bunch of damage for it, and because of it, he kind of baits his team into a really bad position. On offense, as you are trying to push up and take the space away from them, what you're trying to do is slow them down as much as possible. The only way for them to really access getting back to the convoy is this doorway here, or this doorway, which is much, much farther. If they have mobility, they might come from up here. If there's flyers, or if it's like a magic or a Psylocke, they might show up there. But a lot of times they won't come through this door unless this door is totally blocked. What you want to do is make sure that your tanks have this door covered, that this place is protected, but also at the same time, you might want to send one DPS or something to keep an eye on this doorway, just to see if they're after they're being held here, that no one accesses this route over here. You always want to try and deny as many routes as you can. This whole building here actually can break apart quite significantly. In fact, a lot of these areas, which I love about using for high ground, do end up breaking. A lot of times you might have seen in my videos where I'll start up here and then I'll drop down and I'll try and stall the payload out for a little bit if I can. Or I will abuse my high ground by trying to get up here and shoot down from up above because you get such great angles. If you find yourself pressured in these instances where there's someone up top harassing you, a lot of these buildings, these big buildings, break apart. So you just want to destroy the structures in which they're standing on, so they're not allowed to do that. You want to bring them back down closer to you. So a lot of times what you're going to do is you're just going to destroy the structure entirely. So that's also really handy to know. This building as well pretty much entirely destroys itself. On top of that, this health pack, really, really handy, as well as this one over here. These are both really handy for those of you who are finding yourself on mobile characters or heroes that are dive, or like tanks like Captain America. You always want to know where all your health packs are. I find myself, the more I play this game, the more I rely on health packs because of the fact that I can grab that health and get back into the fight faster. And it allows my supports to focus on keeping somebody else alive. The more health packs I use, if I will go to my supports if I know that there's downtime and I know that they need ult charge, then I'll go to them. Otherwise, I try to prioritize health packs in terms of just getting back in the fights faster. So as the convoy starts to push up and take this, after you overtake this corner, the next corner you want to hold as the defensive team is this corner here, because you do get some amount of cover here and you are able to back up into these rooms. But because you're wanting to back up into these rooms, you also want to watch for these flanks because of the fact that as soon as you start to look this direction, someone's going to walk over from this direction. You want to make sure you're watching this side especially. This area here also breaks apart quite a bit. There's another health pack back here. And if you didn't know, you can go up and over this way, I believe. I have seen Psylocke and Spider-Man also do it. So be aware of that just in case you need to make a quick escape and you're not able to stay there longer. That's a decent exit path. And as the convoy starts to push up, you really want to make sure that if you are the offensive team and you take control over this corner easily, like our team has here, that you push up and you start watching this doorway. Like I said, you want to make sure that you body block this doorway and keep them from accessing it. And then, like I said before too, you want to have someone be over here to watch it, so that way this doesn't happen, right? We have one tank watching this doorway, and we have another person over here who gets to walk in for free. If one person was over here at the very least, then maybe we might have been able to slow him down and keep him from accessing the point. If you are a support, do not do what this rocket does here, which is jump right back onto the point. There's no reason for you to hop onto the point when you can apply heals from range and from distance. You have the areas of cover that you can use up here. You can come over here and use this area. There's a lot of other places you can stand, but this is not a great place to be out in the open, especially when you have a res station there. Fast forward to taking the point. Now that we start to push in and push through this doorway, the next choke point you're going to want to hold and defend is basically right here at this tree, if it's at all possible. Typically, though, your team is still coming back, so you might have a little bit of time. It might go a little bit farther. But this room here this wall here entirely breaks down. There's a health pack over here, which is super handy. And as the offensive team, it is great to use this before it breaks down by coming through here and using it as an offense. Because as they're using this tree as cover and trying to contest this contest the convoy at this point here, you can take an angle here in which you can start to apply pressure, and you have the advantage of a health pack here. You can keep applying that pressure, and then as you keep rotating around it, you can keep rotating around this outside. Just as before, too, on the first point, there's a lot of high ground advantages. You can be up here, you can be on these rooftops, you can be in this room. All of this is also destructible. So if you wanted to, and say you were playing someone who had good destructive capabilities like magic, you can put a hole through this wall, get to the other side, and drop down for a flank. As the convoy will start to push up, and as it starts to take over from this point here and you start to push past it, the enemy team will back up over here to this point. But this area is not super great because this cover, like I said, this whole area is pretty destructible. So there's not a whole lot of places that you can stand safely. Once it gets kind of past this choke, it kind of snowballs pretty fast after that. Because from here, as the convoy pushes up, not only do you have, like I said, this flank route over here, you also have this route over here in which it's entirely open. Of course, this health pack as well is super helpful. This pillar here in the center also breaks down, so it's not super reliable. But if the walls are still up, there's usually these things are filled in, but they do break over time. You can use this area to sneak through. And once again, usually as they're holding down main, you have the supports that are always sort of facing straight forward. And the blind spots that they have are pretty large for the cameras in the game. So you as a flank character can take these side angles here and start attacking like I am here. as my team pushed one way, I went this other way and cut through and then tried to pincer in on top of them. It's extremely effective, and once again, as you see, I took the damage, I got out, I used my knowledge of the health packs, and I played back. We'll fast forward a little bit. There's another health pack over here behind this little box car, and we then start to take and push this corner here. Once we take this corner, the next safest corner for the team to try and hold is this one. And on offense, that means that we want to try and deny these areas of space, because once you get up to here, the defensive team is going to start to try and control this area of space. And you can see they have a good view on the back line. And they also are able to pass through here if they want to take a really, really harsh extreme angle. But this is also super helpful for you on offense to pass through here and see what they're going to do, see if they're hiding a res station, or see which angle they want to attack from, and also give you a chance to poke at their back line for free. This is a highly contested area here and here because of the fact that it is the shortest route for you to get there. It is also one of the safest routes for the enemy defensive team to try and apply pressure, but also get back to safety if they needed to go through here. The next angles I want to talk about that I didn't get a chance to before is this wide angle over here. This angle is not as commonly used that I've seen, but because of that, it's also very frequently unguarded. I've used it a lot as magic, in which I see my team pushing forward and I know that I want to get a flank on their backline. As soon as I go up and around, there's a health pack over here, by the way. I walk through here, and this area, a lot of times, if their backs are facing directly to me and they're prepared to get to this corner, or if they're still maybe around starting to back around this corner, I have a perfect angle of them and I get to just walk up on them for mostly free because of the fact that it's such an out of the way area. You do tend to forget that it's there, and it's not even super intuitive, I will admit, because there's a hole here, there's a cliff here, you can technically walk up this way, but it doesn't seem like an area that you'd even want to go. But it is handy in order to try and get those flanks off, and even more so once the payload starts to move up here. Hypermobile characters like Psylocke are really good, as well as Magic, for taking these angles here. You can see, like, as we start to pressure them and push them, they back up this direction. If I wanted to go for a really extreme angle, and let's say the enemy team is still holding this corner here, trying to hold it down behind these pillars, I will come around this way and try and flank from the backside. This is where they're a little grouped up too much, but if there is typically just like two supports kind of facing this way, they're not really watching this backside, it makes for a really excellent angle to flank from. Fast forward a little bit more to the next point. So here, as the payload and convoy is starting to push forward, typically if you've lost this fight, it's very hard to try and contest the next corner, which is probably this corner. If you can hold this corner, it's a good spot to try and hold it, but a lot of times you are respawning still. So as the offensive team, you want to try and push up and try and deny that space so you can slow it down as much as possible and keep that pressure going. So that way we can allow the convoy to move up as freely as possible. The next corner is, I would say, you can kind of hold this one a little bit, but you kind of want to back more to this corner here. This corner is your next real safest corner. You can kind of hold here a little bit if you already have the pressure and the team isn't fully here, because you can use this as cover and you can kind of back up slowly. But this one is a little bit more ballsy. This one is probably your next safest bet. There are different health packs here. There's another one down in this area here, which is also still connected to this area where there's another health pack, and in this room. This thing destroys this thing which was previously built, was up. Here we go. This thing previously built looks like this, and then as it breaks, it creates a ramp which gives you an excellent angle in which you can then, as they are defending this corner here, you as a DPS player, perhaps like a hit scan or a Hela, can take this angle up here. You can use this as cover and apply a lot of pressure safely while still being within the LOS of your team. But also at the same time, that means the defensive team also wants to equally try and control this space. This area is not as super handy. I have used it a few times to occasionally walk through here and try and get some sort of pressure, but it's more so, I think, used for like the defensive team because you can get an angle, you can kind of shoot their back line. It's not the best place in the world to be, especially because of the fact that it's long. Any area that has a long straight path and it's really open is not super great to travel down. To top it off, This is glass. You see right through it. You can also break the glass right there, and you can even pass through here, even though it doesn't look super obvious. It's not the best route to take. You, on the offensive team, mostly want to stick to taking these routes, and also, if I didn't mention right, there's the health pack over here. Once the payload starts to push up a little bit more towards this corner and the enemy team starts to back away around this corner, their next safe bet is to back up to this corner. This is the next safest option. But since they are going to try and do that, what I'm going to try and do is deny their space by probably going around this way. This is the next route I would probably end up taking. This thing here doesn't act as great cover. This piece does break down. But you see me here as I access that spot, just like I'm talking about. As my team pushes in, once again, from this direction, and my team goes one way from main, I am looking for a separate angle to try and cut them off. And by doing so, I can apply a lot more pressure with the help of my Venom. And also, there is a health pack over here. There is a route over here. I will say I have used it occasionally, but not. It's not probably the one you're going to use the most often. This one, there's a health pack down here I've used quite frequently to stay alive. The jump pad takes you up and into this room here. This wall here breaks down. What I don't like about this is as you come up here, it is a long, straight sight line. It's not super great to have a fight in this hallway. There's no cover. I don't like areas like that. So I don't use it as often, but it's still a very contested area because of the fact that you on defense might find yourself up here trying to use this as cover and apply pressure while your team applies pressure from this way. But also at the same time, if you know that this area is sort of uncontested and you think you can take a high risk play, you can pass up through here, wait for your team, and then get a flank off either on like a sniper or somebody hit scan who's not going to realize that you're there, or you can use it to get around and flank their back line over this way. Once again, it is a much more high risk pathway to take, but it can work if they are unsuspecting of it, or if there's once again like a Black Widow zoomed in or something, they're not going to be paying a lot of attention. And yeah, once you kind of sort of lose this corner, it's very difficult to retake. I will say though, one area that's very much like not used very often, and I'm not sure entirely as to why, is this area here. This one seems to be one that I never really see contested too much, but if you are a hit scan player and you need to try and get the enemy team, get a quick kill to like maybe get the enemy team to back up, this area a lot of times is uncontested and it's pretty safe for the fact that you have a lot of cover. The downside is the odds are that if your team is positioned anywhere, they're not going to be positioned in a place where they can heal you safely because of the fact that nobody else almost ever goes over here. But nonetheless, I still think that there's a lot of hidden potential with using this window that just hasn't been utilized yet, especially to get the drop on people when they don't realize it. It's a very uncommon path to take. Finally, the only other thing is the pathways through here, there does lead to a health pack. This room is entirely pointless for the most part. And I always get mixed up whenever I back up into these doorways. The health pack is over there. You can't access it by going over here. All these rooms connect and intertwine, between each other. So that's good to remember. But once you sort of lose this corner, you kind of lose the objective entirely. Okay, I'll go over defense here a little bit quicker because I kind of already covered that on offense a little bit. But once again, you see me up here on high ground. I love to sit up here and on the spot. So the very first thing I always do personally when I am on offense is I jump up here to try and contest the space and see if anyone is up here. Because otherwise, when you're not paying attention to it, this is what happens. Where Venom dives in, he dives in first. I follow up right afterwards. I start to try and follow up on what he is doing. And then we get picks on the supports while also contesting the payload. And here's me using my knowledge of the environment to get around, applying that pressure, and Venom is still, once again, holding the payload down. This is the reason why, you destroy these destructibles and these environments to deny space from flankers being allowed to do that. Here, I am going to keep contesting this room. It works for a little bit until the walls get destroyed. But as my team is pushing and attacking from main here, once again, you are always going to find me attacking from a different angle. So here, my tanks are diving on the point. They're slowing it down. They're slowing down main. And for me, as a highly mobile DPS, I am taking a very aggressive angle to try and deny any space and deny any cover from them by applying damage in a much more efficient way than by standing next to my teammates. Here, you're going to see, once again, my supports backed up to the corner here. This is the safest place for them to be. The supports don't really want to push out too far, and there's not a whole lot of cover. You want to try and hold this corner. If your teammates push out beyond this point and they have no cover, it is not your job to try and keep them alive through everything, because of the fact that it is too dangerous for you a lot of times to be out that far. You want to make sure you position yourself in a way where if you have to, you can back around cover if need be, because it's very easy for them to collapse on top of you if you mess up. So here, as we start to lose space and as we start to lose people, we kind of have to back up and give up a little bit of space. And I am prioritizing staying alive back there. And here, as we are already down people and we're losing more, it is just time to get out and back up and keep trying to play these corners. Venom is just slowing the convoy the best he can. I am waiting in the next best position possible. I'm waiting for my team to regroup before fully engaging. You can see here, now that my tank is coming back, they are trying to contest this doorway. They're trying to deny access from the defensive team, because once you lose that corner, like I said, it's very difficult to retake it because of the fact that you have no areas of cover. You're walking out straight into the enemy's attack. There is no safe area. So a lot of times, if you don't use a support ult or something to keep yourself alive, you can't really retake the point because there's no way to apply damage in a more efficient way than they can. They can use this area as cover. They can use the convoy as cover, as they're doing here. And if you are unable to take the space back, you just have to give it up. But like I said, if you have a support ult, you can use the support ult to try and take it back by force. We do eventually lose that point, which is fine, but we start to back up. There's me using the knowledge of the health packs again and trying to apply pressure. And there you see me using this not very oftenly used route, which I like to use a lot because of the fact that I know almost nobody goes over here. So it allows me to get back to my team safely, which is the most important part. Here, my team is applying pressure as the enemy team is trying to deny that space. They're using this area, the centerpiece here, as cover. But the enemy team is doing a really good job of controlling different areas of space. I want you to take notice of how well these tanks actually did this. One tank is going this way to control space. Another tank is going this way to control space. And the supports are back in a position to where they have access to both of the tanks. This is what it means to control areas. I wish I saw more people do this, of, not always just grouping up together and seeing, just duking it out free for all. This is a lot better in terms of controlling different areas. Because of it, the enemy team gets a really good pick on the Iron Man. So here, as you can see, this whole area gets destroyed. It's very destructible. Once we sort of lose this corner, it's very hard to take back, and this area is not great use for cover. Because it's so destructible, in the beginning, it sort of works to use as like your defensive routes and flank routes and stuff, but as it starts to get more destroyed, it becomes less and less reliable. So here we're trying to go back forward so that way we can try and hold this corner, because of the fact that if there's ever a chance of us holding a corner, it would be this one. And the supports are, of course, using the different areas and backing up in the route which it would be the safest. This area is not entirely safe. It's too open. You have a better chance hiding behind the trees here, backing up in this way. You see me, of course, here, once again, controlling those different off angles, controlling those different areas of space and trying to apply pressure. And because we are able to hold that corner, now we can push back up and we can hold this corner a little bit while we apply pressure as they walk out of spawn and regroup. Here, they use a support ult to help try and force their way through this corner. I am trying to apply pressure, and once it gets to be too dangerous, I reassess my position. I retake a different position from a different off angle, in which I am trying to apply pressure here. My main tanks are here trying to hold this corner, but because of the fact that the rocket ult was extremely powerful, as well as the team up and everything else, my tank was taking too much damage and ended up falling over. Now we are losing a bunch of space. So as my team starts to fall back and as we need to regroup, we are trying to pull back essentially to, like I said, around these corners here. You can see my team fully back up and into these rooms here. They grab the health packs. They are trying to just stay back until they can fully regroup. The Doctor Strange had overextended way too far without his team, got grabbed by the Emma, and now once again, you see us holding this space here. This is the next area in which we are going to hold. Loki's got the right idea by being around the back here. Invisible Woman is using her ultimate to try and force this this corner to be held, which is not a terrible idea because of the fact that this corner still provides cover. However, what I don't like about this is that you need to have someone watching this inside here to make sure that people don't flank. People tunnel vision a lot of times too much on the main path, and they forget about all these surrounding paths that leave them wide open. For me personally, that's what I would be doing here, is I would be trying to, as my team is forcing main, try and take this angle here. So my job as DPS on the other end would be to try and defend this angle and make sure that no one's walking through. Also, with the cliff here, a lot of times people get pulled off, people get pushed off, people get booped off. Anytime there's an area in which you can get pulled or booped off, I am avoiding that area as much as possible. As the convoy pushes up, I'm standing on the right side of the convoy. I don't go near the ledges because of the fact that a lot of times people are waiting to try and get those easy, quick picks off on you. I personally just try to avoid as much as I can and make it as difficult as possible to hit me because, as you saw there, Doctor Strange was about to be pushed off, but luckily he had his levitation to bring him back. Here, you can see the convoy starting to push up, and now it's going to get much more difficult in order for us to try and hold this corner here. So they're just going to end up taking it for free. Fast forward it a bit, and here you see Emma trying to hold the corner here. Venom is slowing the progression of the payload, and while he is doing that, we're trying to take out the Doctor Strange, but unfortunately, the Scarlet Witch is doing a lot of work with that team up, applying pressure and getting kills. So now that we have forcibly lost this corner because we do not have the numbers and we do not have the pressure with both support ults going off and ours running out first, we essentially lose this corner here. So the next best thing that we're going to want to do is regroup to try and hold this corner here. In this situation, we're going to try our best to try and prioritize staying alive, and unfortunately, I mess up and I do not. So my whole team has to back up. Unfortunately, we lose totems, but as you can see here, now that we have our tanks coming back out, they're coming back out to try and recontest and take over this space. They want to try and get to that corner as fast as possible. Their tanks are pushing our tanks back, but you see them pushing up to try and hold it. This is pretty good, all things considered, because of the fact that we want to try and make sure that they don't just take this corner for free. But also at the same time, you always want to remember to keep yourself, give yourself an exit route. Make sure you always have some sort of exit strategy. But here, our tank holds it at this corner long enough for our Invisible Woman to ult off, which is really good. Unfortunately, she gets Eye of Agamotto'd outside of her ult. And now we're going to lose that pressure that I was talking about. Once that corner is lost, you do not want to stand out in the open because anywhere where there is a long open sight line is dangerous. You always want to be trying to have an area of cover in which you can shoot and apply cover safely. And defending this corner is a lot safer than and giving up space than it is to try and just brawl out in the open. Whenever you're brawling out in the open, you are always just basically taking a chance of whoever aims better is going to be the one that wins. When you position smart, you take areas in which you can apply damage at a much more efficient way, in a much safer way. I always position in places where I know I can get to safely in case I mess up, because of the fact that I can't rely on my mechanics and my ability to aim because I am sure I'm going to mess up a shot or two. So instead, if I'm positioned near cover to where I can hide behind something safely, if I mess up a shot, I can get behind cover, reload, and I can go back out and try again. So I would rather have my tanks hold down this main path here and anchor the point down. And I will just simply take another route, which is over here from this side. Or if I was a hit scan type, I might come up here to apply pressure from this route. So while my tanks try to hold this corner here, which is much safer, I will try and do something else cheeky, because as you can see, as they start to move up and they start to look forward, a lot of times they get distracted on what's right in front of them, and they don't necessarily always turn to see who's walking right by them. So here, Venom is diving in, but as you can see, we are losing the point with a lot of the pressure. But here you see exactly what I was talking about, where I am going from a separate route. While my team goes one way, I am trying to attack from a different way. But as you can see, once I started to take damage from the Scarlet Witch, I dashed and tried to get to safety. I am always trying to think to myself of, okay, where can I attack the team in which I can get an off angle and I can apply that sort of pressure that can maybe I can pull them off the point, but also at the same time, where can I do it and what's my exit strategy in case it doesn't work? I'm always trying to find the positions in which I can stand, in which I can apply damage in the most efficient way possible, while also making sure that I'm not taking a risk that isn't worth it. There are times you need to take risks. There are times that you need to try and make a ballsy play. But once again, the more you are alive in these games, the more you can apply pressure, the more you can pull out resources, the more you can get kills, the more you can do a lot of things. Even if you aren't necessarily getting kills, if you are alive, there is still something that you can do. So you always want to try and prioritize where you can stand in which you can apply that pressure, but also stay alive. To me personally, I don't think that just going for kills is worth it if it means that I risk dying and giving my team a huge disadvantage. It is much, even if I am not the best player on my team, as long as I survive enough to apply pressure, pull attention, and pull resources, I can still hopefully let my team do the heavy lifting for me in those situations. It could just be that I'm having a bad day. Everyone has them. And then in those instances, it's just my priority is just to stay alive. So anytime I position, I'm thinking to myself, where can I apply pressure safely? Where can I pull attention and resources from? Where can I do it safely? And a lot of times what I do not want to do is as my tanks hold one direction and my supports are backing them up, a lot of times you might find supports here or you might find supports up here. I'm going to let them do that. And I don't want to stand directly next to them. I don't want to stand behind them because of the fact that if you are a DPS and you are shooting right behind your tanks, that means you're probably just shooting the enemy tanks. That's not very efficient damage. The tanks want you to shoot them. The tanks want to tank that damage because of the fact that they just can, and they're going to have the most resources sunk into them. So what I try to do is while my team is fighting them and everybody's just pumping damage into each other, I find the off angles to try and distract the squishy targets and the damage dealers, much like I am here. Because as you can see, the Hawkeye is at the back and his entire team isn't really paying attention to him. So I am trying to apply pressure from a different angle. I'm always trying to create that distraction around them by making sure that they're not all just shooting down one area. Because if I was trying to stand next to my team with a Hawkeye in the enemy team, odds are he's going to end up missing trying to shoot my tank and end up hitting me in the head. But if I am behind him, he has to make a choice. Do I fight the Psylocke or do I fight the tank? That's always what you kind of want to do and what you always want to be thinking. So as you take these different routes and as you try to defend them, always try to think to yourself, where do I want to stand that I can get the most value? Where do I want to stand where I can apply damage to the squishier targets? And also at the same time, where's my cover? What's my exit strategy in case things don't work out the way that I wanted them to? These are all questions that should be running through your mind at all times. It's not just about, oh, this is the route I always take. It's what resources do I have? What's the enemy team have? How far is the convoy pushed up? Those types of things. So yeah, that pretty much covers all of the different angles here that you can possibly look for on offense and defense on Spider Islands. And once again, like I said, this is one of my favorite maps in the game because of the fact that there are so many areas to access. There's so much high ground. There's so many different routes to take that for a flanker, it is the one of the best maps in the game for us. We enjoy taking those routes that people aren't watching. We enjoy those blind spots, and it makes it super easy for us to find different routes in different areas around in order to try and get those quick picks. So yeah, hopefully this was helpful to you and hopefully you enjoyed it. I will try to make some more map guides for the rest of them that I'm missing. Anyway, thanks for watching.